is near to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit.
It started out, just hanging around the wrong people and then smoking. And I did mild drug and alcohol use. And then last August, I ran away from home.
Just all of a sudden, she changed her clothes, her attitude. She ran away from home twice.
And when we found her and got her back home, she was mad. She was absolutely furious.
A lot of anger towards my parents. I felt like they didn't accept me for who I really was.
We'd read books, we'd gone to the minister, we'd gone to this counselor, different people, and nobody, they gave us sort of help, but we just knew it wasn't the answer. And when we found Rapha, we knew that that's where God wanted her and what he wanted us to do with her.
When I first got there, I was real nervous, and I wanted to go home about the first week. Rapha, everybody there just became my family for the month that I was there. So I didn't have to act like anybody I wasn't.
We've had a few rough moments since then, but basically it's been just fabulous. We have a new daughter. That's what I told everybody. We have a new daughter.
Everybody has problems, and Rapha helps every kind of problem.
It's the best thing we ever did, though. I don't know where she would be today if we hadn't put her in Rapha. No idea.
God, through Rapha, has just saved a precious flower.
With Rapha, there is no such thing as hopelessness.
Rapha Hospital Treatment Centers, clinically professional, distinctively Christian, where healing begins.
For 13 years, I had outpatient counseling centers. And anybody who does outpatient counseling sees people who are really hurting bad, some very severely. If you're trying to help hurting people, you want to really be successful with them. And I long to have a place where we could focus, a place that was safe and secure, where they could really focus on these issues that had kept them in bondage so long in their life. And that was the beginning of Rapha.
What I was in was bulimia for about 4 years, and I was barely keeping my head above water. And the pain and the shame and the guilt was so heavy on me that I knew I had to take care of it. And I just felt so at home, and it was so wonderful, and it was easy to pour out my pain. Wonderful. I'm just a different person. I am now walking in the grace of God. Rapha is what opened my eyes. And I'm just grateful for them, and I always will sing their praises the rest of my life, the Lord and Rapha.
The most critical issue in a person opening up so they can receive help is trust. The most critical issue to get trust is to feel accepted. That's the reason why so many people come to us who've tried everything else, where they never really felt accepted. Feel that acceptance. Develop the trust and open up so we can help them with those problems that have plagued them for so long.
My main problem was I turned into an alcoholic and didn't know it. From all my abusing of alcohol for many years, my family finally decided, and through all their faith through the years, finally said that was enough. I woke up one morning after I drank a lot the night before, early in the morning, and there was nowhere around. So I went to the Rapha Treatment Center in South Arlington in February of 1990, I believe it was. It was loving, caring people who knew I was going through pain, who had seen other people go through that pain, and absolutely wanted to encourage me to turn to God and let Him correct that pain for me. At 40 years old now, my life's probably about half gone, and I don't want it to be like it was before. And He's given me the grace to change that and to make it into what my family needs in a husband and a father.
We have a program that you come into, a program that's not just, was just not made up yesterday. or only had a few patients in.
For those who need help or are seeking help for a friend or family member, it is important to learn about the wide variety of Christian resources and treatment options along the continuum of care. Christian books, tapes, and video resources offer insight and information on a variety of subjects, but in most cases, these materials provide only limited information on specific issues. Small groups promote an open environment conducive for addressing issues. These groups can help you identify your pain and gain insights and support to the healing process. However, some needs are deeper and more intense than a small group setting alone can resolve. The next level is outpatient counseling. This option provides personalized care. Outpatient counseling is available in most cities and is easily accessible. Outpatient counseling provides systematic relief, but it may not resolve the root problems due to the limited length and frequency of visits. Intensive outpatient care provides professional attention 2 to 3 hours each weekday. It normally includes individual, group, and family counseling. Intensive outpatient care provides a more focused treatment for the individual's and family's needs. Partial hospitalization is a good alternative for those who can benefit from 4 to 8 hours of counseling each day. The patient will receive extensive individual, group, and family counseling while still living at home. If, however, the home environment is dangerous or even disruptive, it can tragically block the healing process. Therefore, both outpatient counseling and partial hospitalization may prove unsuccessful. Inpatient care is the most thorough and focused treatment available. Inpatient care requires the greatest commitment of time, energy, and effort, but the reward is more significant progress in treatment. It can be more effective than other options because the intensity of therapy can bring desired results in a shorter period of time. As you determine the best option for your specific situation, several important factors should be considered. These include the person's current level of emotional and relational pain, their social, home, and work environment, the root cause of the problem and how long it has existed, and the presence of destructive or addictive behavior. Everyone needs help at some time in their life. Rapha provides several options along the continuum of care. Rapha can help you determine which option can lead you or your loved one to emotional, rational, and spiritual health. To receive a booklet explaining these treatment options in further detail, call Rapha today.
We have basically a team of people who contribute to the psychiatric treatment. A psychiatrist is always in charge of the patient and the treatment team. The nurses are directly involved in the day-to-day management. We have psychotherapists and psychologists who do assessments and do psychotherapy, conduct family therapy sessions. We have group therapy several times a day. And we have a curriculum that integrates spiritual issues into the treatment process. In some ways it's fairly subtle, in other ways it's fairly direct.
Rapha's hospital treatment teams consist of psychiatrists, psychologists, program directors, therapists, nursing and activity staff, professionals who are committed to providing a safe, supportive environment in which people can address their most intense, long-standing emotional problems.
I certainly am a psychiatrist, and the most important part of my life, though, is my relationship with Christ. And there's not only a lack of conflict, there's a real integration there. They go hand in hand.
And I see the growth process as bringing someone along that process of becoming who they were meant to be. I believe God is the only one who can truly bring that about. I can't do that as a therapist. Other kids can't do that. Parents can't do that. I believe that God truly is the only one who can bring about that change.
And I didn't realize for a long time when I was having severe depression. My situation at home had just really become a superficial marriage.
Well, John's temper had
become almost out of control to the point where he became verbally abusive with our children.
There was on 3 different occasions I put a pistol to my head because I was getting so desperate that I just thought that was the only way out.
One afternoon he came home from work and he just broke down. And at that point, I realized that we had to do something and do it fast.
I did not know Rapha existed anyway. I called and after I got in, I remember very vividly going in the front door there at the unit, and the door was locked behind me. And for the first time in a long time, I felt secure. It was like a jigsaw puzzle, and then Rapha showed me that, I can put this together. And it made sense. The picture finally made sense.
John's road to recovery began with a simple phone call to Rapha.
Hello, my name is Rapha. May I help you?
When they call, they're going to be met by a person that cares about them. They're going to feel the love of Christ coming through that phone. They'll know that they're being understood, that they're not strange. Regardless of what the problem might be, they're going to come to a place of recognizing, I can get help here.
It was a simple phone call. The counselor that got on the phone was as sweet as could be. She was so sweet. She took care of everything. I said, what about you?
I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Since my stay at Rapha, my whole life
will express my gratitude and love for what you, the staff, and the patients did to save my life, both physically and spiritually.
Willpower to go on with his life and to help him realize that we are all sinners.
Determination to end my life that day. You see, I was a minister of the gospel and I had run out of hope.
For your kindness over the last 6 weeks. First, I want to thank you for your patience in answering me.
Tens of thousands of people have been inspired and helped by Robert McGee's best-selling book, The Search for Significance. Now a leading publisher in the field of mental health, Rapha produces a wide variety of books and resource materials used by individuals, churches, and groups around the world. Dr. Billy Graham says, Robert McGee's book, The Search for Significance, should be read by every Christian.
I don't believe there's anybody anywhere who believes in Rapha more than I do. Rapha is an organization you can trust.
Reverend Tommy Barnett, pastor of First Assembly of God Church of Phoenix, Arizona, says, the Christ-centered counseling available at Rapha centers is a great testimony to the overcoming power of biblical truth when applied to a hurting life.
As a pastor, one of my concerns is finding a place that integrates biblical theology with psychology. And I believe that Rapha has that balance. And that's why I can refer people to Rapha with assurance. I know that they will get help in a total way.
Beverly LaHaye, founder and president of Concerned Women for America, states, I am pleased to be able to recommend the Rapha program everywhere.
I've had the opportunity to visit the Rapha centers. I've had an opportunity to visit the Rapha personnel, their doctors, their psychiatrists, therapists, and more important, I've had the opportunity to talk to the patients one-on-one. And I'm completely sold on the Rapha's Christ-centered treatment program.
As an ongoing ministry to individuals and families, Rapha provides in-depth curriculum for church-based small groups, leadership training workshops, and family conferences. Rapha's proven experience enables people to address issues such as self-worth, depression, codependency, parenting and family relationships, sexual abuse, and other problem areas within an environment of love and acceptance.
I guess with the resentment, I guess that has to do with anger, and I'm angry at alcohol.
Special support groups are based on Rapha's 12-step programs for overcoming chemical dependency, codependency, and eating disorders.
If we understand, if churches understand how to meet felt needs, in the 90s it will be the greatest tool for evangelism that we will have. And in a world that doesn't know Jesus, doesn't even know their spiritual side, they do know they have needs. And that's the touch point for the local church.
And I began to go back in my memory to a time when I was 5.5 years old. My grandfather had taken me to a house, the house that I had remembered in the hospital. And I began to remember things
wall, and it was a ritualistic ceremony, an initiation of a new member into a satanic cult. And I was used to initiate him. I was raped.
One of Rapha's most touching stories of recovery took place within the life of Princess.
Now on the outside, I was fine. I functioned well. I did my responsibilities in our church within the group of missionaries. Nobody ever suspected what was going on, but at home I was in hell. I had a closet that I would go into, and it was in an inner room, and I would go in that closet and shut the door, and I would scream at the top of my lungs at the Lord. I felt like I was living in hell, and I didn't know why. I was cleaning in my living room, and it was just this revelation. You've been sexually abused. That was the beginning of the repressed memories returning. It was at that point that my therapist said he really thought that I needed to get somewhere safe so that I could concentrate on letting the repressed memories come out. And he recommended that I go into Rapha. But there was love there. I felt it when I walked through the doors. I told my husband, I said, I'm terrified, but there's love here. So I spent the whole 30 days working through memory after memory after memory, walking just a little bit closer to healing every time. The last memory of occult, of satanic, that I've had, I was 13. I've had other memories of being raped by my uncle and my grandfather on it into my mid-teens. If it hadn't been for Rapha, I don't know that I ever would have felt safe enough to remember. I was surrounded in Rapha by people. He told me it was okay to remember. He said, you're not going crazy. And even when I cursed and I yelled and I screamed, it's okay. You're hurting. We love you. And then said, here are some ways, here are tools to begin dealing with all that's gone on in the past.
Tell me what life's like today.
Well, the peace hasn't gone away. Praise the Lord for that. The peace is there. There's joy.
A lot of people think that people don't try to get help because they're not hurting bad enough. People hurt bad enough. They don't have enough hope. And what we're trying to do is tell people, look, it's the graciousness of God that God has given us the truth. He's given us the procedures. He's given us the methodology. And He's given us the place for people to come and get help.
About 13, I began to realize that there was more out there and I didn't have to be Daddy's perfect little girl. And just simple rebellion, and one thing leads to another.
It was a gradual change, but I think that we're not any different than any other parent. You don't want to think that your children aren't the perfect children.
It's the people you hang around that are going to determine the outcome of what you are. And I got mixed up with the wrong crowd. Of course, of all places, church.
We were told about it by our pastor. They told us that they thought that she was into drugs and Satanism, the occult.
Depression, loss of touch with reality, a nervous breakdown, of which is the real reason I was originally put in, alcoholism, drug addiction, and occult activity.
It was like meeting the devil face to face in my own home. It was really scary.
And I was not going to break. I was determined that I was going to be rotten the rest of my life.
But our pastor, he immediately said, I think that we can get him on into Rapha.
And God finally got through my stubborn shell and spoke to what had been there all along. And I knew I had to change. There is no thing that says you did it. God did it. I was about as far gone as you can get. And I'm here now.
all the things I've done and lived through. There's always hope for everyone.
There's no explanation for Rapha outside the fact that God did it. He gave us favor with the people who own the hospitals. He gave us the expertise we needed. And he gave us the people that understood how to deal with very severe problems and also understood how God impacted people's lives. So there's really no explanation for Rapha outside the fact that God just did it.
In the past few moments, you've met real people with real hurts who found real answers. If you or someone you know needs help, please call us. We're here right now for you. 1-800-383-HOPE. Rapha Hospital Treatment Centers. Clinically professional. Distinctively Christian. Where healing begins.